today on Sports Shorts Daily. We're going to talk about a lot of different topics. One, LSU football, the transfer portal, they're on fire. They've signed 11 players. They're ranked number 1 in the country in the latest transfer portal poll, which is probably my favorite poll. And we'll tell you why it's the most important poll. Also, some good news for Coach O. I'll have Tommy Chrysan explain why Coach O, Joe Oliva, Mr. former Alexander, the former head of LSU, all of them are popping bottles today. We'll tell you why about that coming up. Also, Kim Mulkey's popping bottles. Her team's in the top 10. I mean, if I'd have told you back when they signed her that this year, the year after they had 9 wins a year ago, the year after, 50 people a game went to the PMAC, that they would be ranked already in the top 10, and we're not even to February, you probably wouldn't believe me, even if, or taking that bet, even if you knew, obviously we knew how great Kim Mulkey was. Well, that's exactly what she's done. They're already ranked 10th in one poll. The boys, the guys are as high as 13 in another. LSU baseball, we're getting close to talking a lot of LSU baseball in the month of February. The first pitch banquet is Sunday night. We'll have a lot of chatter about that on Monday, but they're ranked number 8 in the latest D1Baseball.com poll. That's probably the best poll around because I feel like they have the most information and really are unbiased, I think, in that poll. So top 10 ranking for Jay Johnson's squad. I feel like that's about right. We'll also tell you, Tommy will love this one. Dak Prescott apologizes. TK was all over him on Monday. He's now apologized for some of the comments he made after the game. We'll get into that. And some other just little news to tell you about around the world of sports. Carlos Correa, 48th day of the lockout in MLB baseball. He just signed Boris as his agent. So Carlos Correa is going to get paid whenever people start getting paid again. And Major League Baseball had a comment on when the season or what might happen with spring training. Well, I'll let TK break that down as well. So let's bring him in right now from Court Street Cafe. And first off, Tommy, I'll let you your reaction. LSU men's and women's basketball, women 10, men 13. About right?
Yeah, it's about right. I think both coaches would be comfortable with that. And LSU men about to take a two-game road trip. It's going to be very tough. And I got a free pick on tonight's game for you. We hit the free pick the other day on Sports Shorts Radio. So I'll throw you one out here on Sports Shorts Daily, a free one. Also, Kim Mulkey, again, don't be surprised at anything she accomplishes. I don't think they're going to win every game the rest of the year, but they're going to make noise, and it's trending in the right direction. And, like you said, Ronnie, you go, to have so many people going to the Pete Maravich Assembly Center for the men and for the women to be ranked, all this will help the program in the big picture, which will help recruiting going forward, which is what it's all about.
All right, so let's go ahead and get it for the folks that are tuning in. Let's go ahead and give them that pick.
You ready?
Got LSU Alabama tonight, right?
Yeah, Alabama's a 4-point favorite, 6 o'clock tip in Tuscaloosa. Here's your pick. Go under 150. Both of these teams are terrible behind the 3-point line. LSU's got very good defense. Bama's lost 3 in a row, so they're going to be turning up the defense a little bit. So I'm just going to go under 150. I saw 150.5, 150. Well, the pick on Sports Shorts Daily will be under 150 on the total LSU Bama men's basketball.
Well, you won on Saturday with that under for LSU men's basketball against Arkansas, and that's probably a good way to go. LSU offensively, just like I said, struggling, and I think the defense is his teams probably play a little better defense as the season goes on once they kind of get used to who everybody is and the spacing on the floor. And hey, the one thing you can control is defense. You can't always control that ball going in the basket. You can control the intensity you play with on defense. So that's an interesting pick. So I'll jump on that grenade as well as everybody. But you've been on fire, so hopefully you keep rolling. All right, let's the transfer portal. Okay, every coach says they don't like it. Jay Johnson says he doesn't like it. Kelly says he doesn't like it. But at the same time, you take advantage of it. You do what you can do. LSU has signed 11 players in the portal. Oh, by the way, the punter from Notre Dame's transferring to LSU. He obviously was with Kelly and was a starter there. the LSU comes in right now in the transfer portal poll, and as the number one class so far. I mean, obviously this thing isn't done yet. It's like saying you're the number one recruiting class, 5 months before the signing day. But of all the polls, whether it's the current poll at the moment during the season, whether it's the recruiting poll for the high school kids, the transfer portal poll, Tommy, may be the most important of all.
I agree 100%. I mean, because you have knowledge of these players. You have tape. You got college experience, like the safety from Arkansas, the kid out of New Orleans, Focha. I mean, they know what he can do in the SEC, against the Alabamas, the Auburns, and the Arkansas of the world, and the Mississippi State. He plays for Arkansas. As opposed to that high school kid that's 4-star, 5-star, and he was all district. And none of that really matters a whole lot, or it doesn't matter as much as when you got these guys coming out of the portal and you've got better information, you got more knowledge of them and what they can bring to the team, and they can help you right away. Guys, if you come out of the transfer portal, you're not a 2-3 year project. They think you can play now. If not be a starter, at least get a lot of snaps.
You're a proven commodity. At the end of the day, that's the main thing. And even look at Alabama just lost a big linebacker who was a 4 or 5-star linebacker. By the way,
tight end went to Texas. I like that tight end, Bill.
No, she said. Alabama said 17 or 18 players in the transfer portal. It's not just an LSU problem. You can win and have players leave just as easily as you can lose and have players leave. But the thing I will say is that it's a proven commodity thing, and we said going into what's going on right now. They need all of these people to be good. They needed to hit a home run in the transfer portal, and knock on wood, barring injury, barring something crazy, it looks like they're going to do that. They needed an unbelievable recruiting class because they lost so much. They already were deficient on what they had. This was a losing team we're talking about. So you lost. Yeah, we thought we had some good players on a losing team. They had to hit a home run, and clearly right now they're looking like it. Bayou Bengal with a comment right here jumping in saying, guys, I think LSU will be much better than most will predict next season. Coach Kelly is a winner and knows what he's doing. There's no
Yeah, to go on Bayou Bengal's comment, I've said several times in the last couple of weeks that they'll be better in 2023 than they will 2022, and I still stick by that. However, 2022, I don't know what I think they're going to do yet. I'll decide that the week of the Florida State game in September. But, Bayou Bengal's comment is a lot of people share that because they're excited. And what you said, Ronnie, we have proven commodities. We have the info and knowledge on people that you don't have when you get the kid out of high school. And even in some cases when you get that kid out of junior college, you don't have that information as much as you got now. It's not to say it couldn't either go, you might get a transfer portal and the guy flops, and you're going to get a high school kid who becomes an All-American. I mean, all that's going to happen, but, it's interesting. And I tell you, I was talking to a group of guys last night that were all same thing I said. When Brian Kelly, when his name first came out, you went, what? Wait a minute. Brian Kelly, what? Now he has warmed up to people. People have seen him in action. He put his staff together. I dropped a podcast yesterday recapping the new coaching staff, Talking Sports with TK on all your platforms. Go check it out. Kind of gave you a little bit on every coach he's hired. A lot of people have listened already. Go get it on wherever you listen to podcasts. Search for Talking Sports with TK. I think he's put an impressive staff together. And everybody's there except Matt House, who's still with the Kansas City Chiefs. They play Sunday night. And the thing about him that I put in the podcast, Tyrann Mathieu gave him a ringing endorsement for the fact that LSU hired him. So, and he's the guy that's with him every day on the defensive side of the football with the Kansas City Chiefs. So, Brian Kelly, to answer Bayou Bengal, it's going in the right direction, just like men's and women's basketball and baseball with Jay Johnson, and the soccer team would go on and on. So.
And obviously, the point right there by chance, everybody's coming in the spring. Everybody's going to be learning this new system with these new coaches. Obviously, as you mentioned, the DC not even with the team. So, eventually he'll get there. So there's not going to be certain players ahead of other certain players. All these transfer portal guys are going to be kind of coming in with their base of knowledge and their experience. And it should be a heck of an interesting spring game. That's for sure.
Here, Ronnie, is where coaching really kicks in when you got a whole new staff other than Brad Davis. And now, because look, one of the oldest, greatest sayings in coaching history. I share this with a lot of friends. It's not a TK original. It doesn't matter what the coach knows. It matters what the player knows.
Yep.
So it's up to this staff to educate those players into their system and make sure they learn it, make sure they understand it, make sure they know it like the back of their hand. That's going to be a key. So we're going to get a good measuring stick on how good of a coach these guys are to put in their system. Like Chance said, everybody's starting from scratch here. But look, one of the greatest quotes in the world, it's not what the coach knows, it's what the player knows.
No question about it. I mean, look, there's so many examples of great players not necessarily being great coaches in all sports because and to a certain degree, Tommy, it may be harder for great players to be great coaches because their expectation level is, I don't want to say unreachable because obviously they reached it, but they were great for a reason. They were either naturally gifted, probably naturally gifted beyond what most people they coach, and they had the work ethic and the smarts to go with it. And not everybody can be that person, no matter how hard they try or how much effort they put into it. Some of them just can't be as great as they were, and that's got to be super frustrating for a great former player like Michael Jordan, for example, in basketball, to try to have him coach and to try to have him see his players see the game like him. Virtually impossible.
Well, the biggest example is Magic Johnson. He's probably the most versatile, gifted basketball player. One of them. There's a lot of them. And he was not worth a darn as an NBA coach, okay? And then Larry Bird had moderate success as a coach, And then Ted Williams, the greatest hitter in the world, wasn't a good baseball manager, So I mean,
right.
we can make the list just like you can make a list of anything, but you're right, Ronnie. And the pressure gets on them. Like Magic Johnson's coaching the Lakers. I mean, there were Laker fans probably thought they're going to win 5 straight world championships. They couldn't even. I don't even know if they made the playoffs back then. But it is a different animal. So this LSU staff, Brian Kelly's a smart guy, very cerebral. I got to believe he's put people on the staff who are just like him because the assistant coaches are a mirror of the head coach. And I think that the mental part of the game is something I've always been big on in all sports. And I think LSU is going to have that. Time will tell, but it looks good right now.
Yeah, no question about it. Things are off to a good start. LSU #1 ranked in the transfer portal. Maybe we get that sponsored by Red Zone Fundraising, sponsored by.
Yeah, we should Sports Shorts Daily Transfer Portal National Poll. We get like 10 guys to vote. Hey, great
Absolutely.
Question by Scott, your old teammate here, Scott Berardi.
Let's see, what is it? How many Hall of Famers in any sport have become good coaches?
Wow.
Well, think about this just right here in the modern era. Okay, think about the greatest college coach, the greatest football coach, Nick Saban, Bill Belichick. Neither one of them were great football players.
No.
Think about basketball players. I mean, basketball coaches. Greg Popovich. You could say Riley was a great coach.
But he's not a Hall of Fame player.
But he was a darn he's saying Hall of Fame player.
Yeah, Scott's saying Hall of Fame. And Frank Robinson was a Hall of Fame player, but wasn't a great manager. He did well, but he wasn't great. Sparky Anderson wasn't a player. I'm just trying to go through all the guys.
Here's the catch-22 to that, though, and that is especially in the last, 40 years. Hall of Fame players don't need to go coach. They've all Hall of Fame players have made so much money. They go into business, they own things, they go in the front office, they do TV. They don't need to work a real job like coaches.
You're right. Years ago, you had to go from the field to the coaching so you could still make enough money to pay the bills you built up while you were making whatever you did playing back then.
Chance Babin says Bill Russell, did he take – Red Auerbach was the coach during Bill Russell's playing time.
I'd have to look up Russell's
I think he did take over, might have won a title.
He's got more championships than anybody on earth, but
Yeah,
I don't know if he won one as a coach. I'll Chance could look that
he
up.
probably did.
I can look it up
made him
and talk
coach
about
at
it.
the end.
I'll tell you what. You want me to look it up real quick here, Ron? I can do that.
Bill Russell coaching. I mean, he probably won one at the end, but I mean, like that's kind of like a handoff type of deal, right?
Here we go. I got it right here. Let's see.
By the way, Bill Russell, born
coaching
in
record.
Monroe, Louisiana. By the way,
he never did win a championship as a coach.
Okay. When was he the coach there? 66 through 69. And then he did it again a few times. Yeah, if Bill Russell couldn't win it with the Celtics in 66.
I take it back. He was a two-time champion as a coach. I take that back. I stand corrected. He won 68 and 69 as a coach. So, hey, there's you go. Chance, you nailed it.
By the way, as a player coach.
Yeah, well.
Does that count as a player coach?
I don't know. Ask Frank Robinson.
You know,
he did that.
I mean, Michael Jordan, he should get credit for 6 championships as the coach of the Bulls. I mean, let's face it. Like, I mean, I know the other I know
Phil
Jackson.
Phil Jackson might argue with you.
I mean, I know Phil Jackson was teaching yoga classes and all that, but I mean, the real coach is Michael Jordan.
Smoking a joint.
Right. All right. So, what's up, B-Rord? Let's see. Casey Jones. Is Casey Jones not a Hall of Famer? Casey Jones was a good player, not a Hall of Famer.
Not as a player, no.
Pete Rose clearly didn't get a chance to see if that would work out.
Well, he blew that.
There's I mean, like I agree with this part. Unfortunately, we're not going to see it. There are some Hall of Famers that I think would be good coaches or would have been. I think Peyton Manning would be a fantastic coach if he wanted to be. I think Drew Brees would be a fantastic coach if he wanted to be, but those guys aren't going to do that. There's no reason to grind 24/7 in an office when you don't have to, which is what coaches do. All right, let's move on to something else. I want to get into. We got the coaches poll. Oh, this one. I bet you chuckled a little bit when you saw this. Dak Prescott. You were all over him on Monday for him ripping the officials, and finally he walked it back yesterday and apologized and said all the right things.
I fully expected that. I mean, he went way over the line, 100% over the line with that. And, people will forget about it, but they didn't forget about it Sunday night and Monday morning. But the Cowboys, the only home team to lose, Jerry Jones. You hear that little whining in the background, Ronnie, that little faint? That's Jerry Jones. He's still crying.
Do you think you think they make a change with the head coach?
Well, Jerry's son, Steve Jones, one of the front office executives, came out and said that McCarthy would absolutely be the head coach next year. And then somebody said they may make Kellen Moore the head coach and let McCarthy just work with the offense. You can't do that. McCarthy ain't going to do that. But, no, it'd be interesting to see, because now, talking about this was Dallas's year, the best team they had in a long time as far as personnel goes, and they may lose their offensive and defensive coordinator to other jobs. Dan Quinn, their defensive coordinator, is rumored to be heading to Denver or somewhere, or he's being interviewed. So, it might be back to the drawing board for the Cowboys, and that makes me happy.
I know you're not a big tennis guy, but I mean, what a giant story, by the way, that the number one player in the world did not playing in the Australian Open, not allowed into the country. He fought it for 2 weeks. He left yesterday, day before, whatever it was. And this story may not end, Tommy. There's other countries around the world that are taking on the vaccination rule. If you want to come into our country, you got to be vaccinated type of thing. So who knows? I don't know what it's going to be like for Wimbledon in the summer, what's it going to be like for the U.S. late for their tournaments. I don't know, but giant story. And, what's interesting is we're on the verge of the Winter Olympics, which are going to start in about a week and a half. And you got all these players from all around the world going to play in the Winter Olympics and compete. And I tell you what, the Olympics just need to get out of the Olympic business.
They do. And look, there's a big cry. There's a big cry this week that USA should not participate because it's in China. And, I don't want to get into all the political stuff, but this vaccinations thing and the tennis player. Ronnie, I'm gonna give you the perfect analogy. Okay, you ready for this? My opinion. I'm not medical in any way, shape, or form. But tomorrow night, Ronnie, I'm going to wear a big old warm coat so you don't get cold.
Wait, say that again? I'm sorry.
Tomorrow night, I'm going to wear this big old leather coat so that you don't get cold.
Right.
Okay? There you go. Now you're protected.
Yeah, thank you. For Friday, February 4th is when the Winter Olympics are scheduled to begin, and they run through the 20th. I don't know why any country, with the way things are right now in the world, why any country would want to get into the Olympic business. I mean, the bath that Japan took on the Summer Olympics, not only just 1 year but 2.
They couldn't even afford to change the logo from 2020 to 2021. That's how big a bath they took.
And then in China, which of course I know nobody's got any love lost for China, but think about all the things that are in your life that are made in China and come from China and everything else. So before you talk bad about China, think about if there was no China, life would be a little bit different. But
yeah, you would have never called Taysom Hill a China doll.
That's true. That's true.
You'd have to call him a Canadian doll or something.
We probably wouldn't have these iPhones in our hands because in order to make them, they'd have to make them in the U.S. and they'd cost $10,000 a phone. So we probably wouldn't have those either. But listen, you could spend the billions and billions of dollars that these countries spend putting on the Olympics, and the reason they do it is, they always will tell you it's you can't buy that kind of marketing, and you got all these people, publicity, all these people go all over the world, go back to their countries and talk about how great it was, and wherever whatever country's hosting the
Kind of lost you there for a minute, Ronnie. We're talking about the Winter Olympics, which start February 4 over in Beijing, China. I'm not going. Never been to an Olympic. I've never been to an Olympic. It was in Atlanta in '96. Ronnie has froze up on me, folks. I hope you still got it. Court Street Cafe in Port Allen. Lunch specials, dinner specials. Facebook, Instagram, connect with Court Street Cafe. I will give Ronnie a second to jump back in. They got a special event for all the ladies coming up at the end of the month at Court Street Cafe. Check out their Facebook page. I'll post some stuff as well. That's all coming up for you at Court Street Cafe, 805 Court Street in Port Allen. We want you to check it out as soon as you possibly can. We're here just about every Wednesday. Every now and then that schedule bounces around a little bit, but Jason and the staff do a great job here. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, 7 days a week, Sunday brunch, steak night on Thursday, Court Street Cafe in Port Allen. All right, I'm waiting for Ronnie to rejoin. I guess he's going to rejoin. You don't want me to sing. We know that. Again, LSU Bama men's basketball tonight. Free pick under 150. And don't forget, if you're going to bet football this weekend, you want to make some money, we're on fire at meatandpotatoesusa.com. Meatandpotatoesusa.com. It's available on your smartphone, your laptop, your computer.